Robbins Barstow was a lifelong, passionate advocate for whales. During the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, he produced a series of documentary films about the plight of whales and the global movement to save them.
Greetings. I am Robbins Barstow, an 87-year-old retired educator living in Wethersfield, Connecticut, USA. And I'm recording this introduction in the studio of Wethersfield Community Television on January 30th in the year 2007. A month and a half ago, on Thursday, December 14th, 2006, a news story appeared in the Hartford, Connecticut Current with the headline, "Rare White Dolphin Found to be Extinct." It was an Associated Press story, dateline Beijing, China, and the first paragraph read, "A rare, nearly blind white dolphin known as the Baiji, that had survived for millions of years, is effectively extinct. An international expedition declared Wednesday after ending a fruitless six-week search of the Yangtze River habitat of this dolphin. This news struck me particularly hard because I am one of the very few Americans who has ever actually seen one of these rare species of dolphins alive. I have been an eyewitness to extinction. I've been actively involved in the worldwide whale conservation movement for more than 30 years. I'm Director Emeritus of the Cetacean Society International, which I co-founded back in 1974, and I've attended many meetings of the International Whaling Commission 4 times as a member of the United States delegation. Cetacean is the scientific name for all whales, dolphins, and porpoises which have been living in the seas of our water planet for millions of years. Cetaceans are air-breathing mammals with long, flat, horizontal tails. They give birth to their young and nurse them underwater, and they have brains that are as comparable in size and complexity to the human brain. They range in size from the great blue whale, which is 100 feet long, all the way down to the smaller porpoises and dolphins. Among the 80 different species of cetaceans, there are the large baleen whales, but then there are 70 different kinds of smaller toothed whales. And the largest of the toothed whales is the sperm whale, which grows up to be 60 feet. But most of the others are dolphins and porpoises of a smaller size. And there are some very unique species among these toothed whales, like the narwhal with its long tusk here that lives up in the Arctic. But I'd like to call your attention up here to this strange-looking cetacean here. This white dolphin up here in the corner is one of the very rare and unusual family of dolphins known as the freshwater river dolphins. It has this long, elongated, narrow beak and a bulbous forehead, and it's in that family that Baiji was found. This special family of freshwater river dolphins developed millions of years ago in rivers in two separate parts of the world. There are these four different species in Latin America and South America. The Amazon River is the habitat for the Amazon River dolphin, known as the botu. And then in South America, in Argentina, there's the La Plata River dolphin, or the Franciscana. That's in the continent of South America. But then, interestingly enough, the other place in the world where there are river dolphins are over in Asia. And in India, we have the Ganges and Indus river dolphins, known as Susu. And then up in China, that was the home of the Yangtze river dolphin, or the Baiji. The other three species of river dolphins in Latin America and India seem to be maintaining their own, although they certainly are threatened. It's only the one in China, the Baiji, that has now become extinct. In the Chinese city of Wuhan, on the lower part of the Yangtze River, there's a world-famous Institute of Hydrobiology as part of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Scientists there for the last several decades have been studying the Baiji and trying to find ways that they might be able to save it. But as the numbers kept decreasing from maybe a few hundred 3 decades ago or 20 years ago down to just a handful in recent years, international concern about the Baiji rose. And there was a Swiss businessman and naturalist named August Pflüger, who formed an internet organization with the website baiji.org and set up a foundation to help carry out, with the cooperation of the Wuhan Institute of Hydrobiology, an international survey of the river in the fall of 2006. Dr. Wang Ding, China's leading Baiji expert and the deputy director of the Institute, led the survey. In this photo, Dr. Ding is shown on the left, along with whale naturalist Randall Reeves and expedition coordinator August Pflüger. They assembled a team of 25 scientists from 6 countries: China, the United States, Britain, Japan, Germany, and Switzerland. And they spent 6 weeks traveling up and down the Yangtze River for more than 1,000 miles between the Three Gorges Dam and Shanghai with 2 boats using the most sophisticated visual and audio equipment. They did cite more than 300 Yangtze finless porpoises, which is another species of cetacean which also has lived for many years in the Yangtze River. But they didn't find a single specimen of the Baiji in this entire 6-week trip. Industrialization, boat commerce, fishing, and pollution simply eliminated the habitat which the Baiji was dependent upon. And so they found it was simply gone forever, which is a real tragedy in this planet of ours at this 21st century. The demise of the Chinese river dolphin has a deep personal significance to me, because 22 years ago, back in 1985, my wife and I had made a trip to China, and as part of that trip we took a tour on a cruise ship down the Yangtze River. We ended up at Wuhan, and by special arrangement we managed to make a contact there and were able to actually go over to the Institute of Hydrobiology outside the city and talk there with the scientists who for so long have been studying and working to try to save the Baiji. I had read that there was a living captive specimen of the Baiji there at that institute, though I didn't know whether it was still there when we went in 1985. But we did, after talking with these scientists, actually get to go and see this Baiji, which was living there in a tank being maintained and in good health. They called it Chi-Chi. And we had a rare experience of actually seeing this very rare and unusual dying species of dolphin there at Wuhan. The scientists that we talked with included Professor Chen Pixun and a young researcher named Wang Ding, who at that time was a student at the Institute. In this photo with us on the left are Wang Ding and Professor Chen Pixun. I had the rare opportunity and privilege of actually taking some motion pictures, 16 8mm film, of the Institute and the scientists, and of Chi-Chi, this last living captive Baiji Chinese river dolphin. And that's what I would like to share with you now in this video. I'd like to show you the films that we took 22 years ago. Actually, this dolphin, Chi-Chi, died in 2002, 17 years after these pictures were taken, the last of his kind.
We flew south again to Chongqing, a mountainous industrial city set on a rocky promontory at the juncture of the Jialing and Jiangjiang rivers. We had another opportunity to see giant pandas at the zoo in Chongqing, which is located in Sichuan province, where most of the few remaining wild pandas live. Chongqing was the embarkation point for our long-anticipated cruise down the Jiangjiang River for 850 miles, including the famous Three Gorges.
The name of this river?
Formerly the Yangtze River, but most of them told it Changjiang River.
It's the longest river in China and the third longest in the world, I know. How long is it in miles?
4,000 miles.
And where did we go on this cruise?
From Chongqing here to Wuhan.
Exceeded in length only by the Nile and the Amazon, the Changjiang River flows from the mountains of Tibet all the way across China to the East China Sea, just north of Shanghai. We disembarked in the rain at one river town. We made our way up the slope and through a narrow, crowded marketplace where we had the opportunity to exchange silent greetings with venerable Chinese villagers. On the third day of our cruise, after leaving the last of the gorges, we came to the locks and giant dam of the Gajoba project at Yichang City. The locks here have one of the highest displacement levels in the world. Mud-colored waters rushing down its sluiceways provide tremendous amounts of power for electricity, flood control, irrigation, and navigation.
The city of Wuhan is the site of the first bridge to be built across the Changjiang River, and also of the first giant television tower in China. It was here at Wuhan that we secured permission to make
a personal visit to the Institute of Hydrobiology,
a campus of Wuhan University, some miles out from the center of the city. Here we were introduced to Professor Chen and several of her colleagues, who are now recognized as the foremost authorities in the world on the Chinese river dolphin. And in a large pool inside this well-guarded, roof-covered enclosure, we found being maintained alive and well the only living specimen of a Chinese river dolphin existing in captivity any place in the world today. It was a rare and fascinating sight. This animal had been obtained 5 years ago in January 1980 from some river fishermen who had caught it alive in a pool of shallow water near a sandbank. It had been severely wounded by hooks during capture and required very special care for some months after it had been taken to the Hydrobiology Institute. It was treated with Chinese medicines until the wounds finally healed, and since then it has gained weight and remained healthy and active. Among the playthings placed in the pool with the dolphin from time to time is a floating rubber tube, which it sometimes of its own accord picks up with its dorsal fin and pulls around the pool. Now here is Professor Chen and Mr. Ren Jun.
This dolphin is reported in the Yangtze River of China, only in the north and the mid.
What is the name of this dolphin?
This dolphin name is Chi.
And where did you catch it?
We caught it in 1980 and catch it in the Yangtze River nearby Dongding Lake.
I understand it's the
only one in the world in captivity.
That's remarkable.
We treat it to use Chinese medicine for 1 year. He is here.
Chi is a male Chinese river dolphin. Bioacoustical studies have been made of its echolocation abilities during feeding because, like other river dolphins, its eyesight appears to be extremely limited.
An international workshop to seek ways to preserve and protect the Chinese river dolphin was held here in Wuhan in 1986. It is still hoped that though there are now maybe fewer than 100 of these rare animals still in existence, some way can be found to prevent their actual extinction.
We know now that the Baiji was not able to survive. With its habitat gone, there was no way to save it, despite all the efforts of the people at the Institute. But there is a postscript that I'd like to add to this account, because there was another kind of cetacean that lived there in the Yangtze River and still does. It has not yet become extinct, and there is a possible hope for keeping that one from becoming extinct. It's called the Finless porpoise. It looks a little bit like a, well, in this book about whales, they have some photos here of the Finless porpoise. There are finless porpoises that live in various places, but there is this freshwater Finless porpoise that they look a little bit like the white beluga, but gray and black in color. And they found over 300 of them. They cited over 300 of them in that expedition that they made up in the Yangtze River just this past fall. So then they've had more luck. Recently, there was a public television program broadcast over PBS about China, inside China, China from the inside. And there was one segment in that program where they showed Dr. Wang Ding. He was the young student that we talked with back 22 years ago when we were there visiting the Institute, my wife and me. And now he is the deputy director of the Institute, and he has been working on ways to try to avoid what happened with the Baiji and to find some place that the harbor porpoise, or the Finless porpoise, could be kept in a reserve someplace off the river that where the water wouldn't be so polluted and disturbed, and where they could have a breeding farm. They did manage to capture a male and female Finless porpoises, and the female became pregnant, and they took her to this reserve where they have set up a breeding colony that has the possibility of keeping that species alive. So I'd just like to throw that out as a postscript, but then there is something else that needs to be said. Recently, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature held a meeting, a conference just this month, January of 2007, in La Jolla, California, where they had whale scientists from all over the world assessing the different populations of cetaceans that exist today. And there is one species of cetacean now that is more endangered even than the Finless porpoise in the Yangtze, and that's the vaquita. One of the scientists who was on the expedition that declared the Baiji to be functionally extinct now was at this conference. He talked about the Baiji and the fact that there is this other little porpoise called the vaquita that lives only in the Gulf of California, and which now is down to very, very few numbers due to overfishing and habitat loss. And the International Union for Conservation of Nature, which prepares a census book about dolphins and whales in the world and all of their status, has concluded that this is the dolphin, the next species of cetacean that is most in danger of becoming extinct. The next, we haven't had extinctions for quite a while here, but now in this century, we have the problems of trying to avoid extinction, and they are seeking to raise public consciousness in the wake of the Baiji about the vaquita in the Gulf of California. The habitat of this most endangered cetacean now, the vaquita, is in just one place in the world. It's in the Gulf of California, which is part of Mexico, and it is there now, up in the north part of this little Gulf of California, that the focus of scientists around the world and conservationists are efforts to try to prevent the extinction of the vaquita and to end, if they can find some way to not have them be overfishing, where they're an incidental take there, and just a few hundred left. We live in perilous times for both the human species and for other species on our planet. There's this competition between human development and the natural habitat of so many creatures in this world. And these are times when we have got to make difficult decisions and weigh in the balance the values of different forms of life. We hope that this report on what happened to the Baiji can serve as an object lesson as we consider these very, very critical issues looking ahead to the future of planet Earth. Thank you. I'm Robbins Barstow from the Cetacean Society International, and we wish you well.
More of Robbins Barstow's whale documentaries are available on the BTA Films channel on YouTube. Click here to subscribe or follow these links to other films by a master of home movie storytelling in the pre-digital era.